The ideas that gave birth to our nation are the ideas that our nation is resistant to right now, and we should talk about that all the time.
In a world where narratives are shaped by corporations and gatekeepers, independent voices matter more than ever. Badlands Media brings together citizen journalists, researchers, and independent thinkers.
The truth is triggering.
Question the narrative. Explore the facts.
It's authenticity, courage, resilience.
Search for the truth others won't.
It's not about being first or being right.
The information war is changing.
It's about being authentic.
Embrace the friction.
Embrace the friction.
Shut the f*** up.
Authentically antagonizing. Join the movement.
I'm going to say how I feel.
Follow Badlands Media.
This is about the future.
The Badlands. What are the Badlands? Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
All right, good morning, Badlandia. Welcome to Badlands Daily.
It really feels like if a cat with a laser pointer, it's like you let the cat up to the top of the building and now you're leading it over the edge.
President Trump is rebalancing trade around the world and making things more fair for the American people.
I think that anytime the deep state can like over-capitalize in whatever situation they have, they're going to.
But the rest of it is a very well-organized and well-funded color revolution operation of the type they run all over the world again and again and again to destabilize entire society.
Echoes carried on the wind. We stepped into a moment where a nation would begin. Powder smoke and rising banners, voices ringing through the flame. We rode the currents of tomorrow, found the dawn of freedom's flame. Raise the flame of revolution, let the old world hear us roar. Freedom rise on every heartbeat, marching louder than before. From the Delaware to glory, soft disclosure fans the flame.
All right, good morning, Badlandia. Welcome to Badlands Daily. It's Ash Wednesday. Back on the normal schedule. Kind of. We're missing Ghost now, but how you doing, Ash?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to
Wow.
answer based on
Wow.
my rights.
Wow. Taking away the lead right off the bat.
Yeah.
Craziness, man. I thought today was going to be a short show. I was all excited. I was like, okay, it'll be a relatively short show, and then we'll all go watch the hearing. And under the advice of counsel, I plead the fifth. We'll get into that. We'll get into that. Got a lot to talk about on that aspect right there. But let's go ahead and jump into our sponsors for today's show. And Badlanders, you guys are all familiar with Loaded Gun Coffee. They've been longtime supporters here at Badlands, and you may have met them in person at some of our GART events. But did you know they're a veteran-ran, family-owned shop in Lake Havasu, Arizona? Every bag of their whole bean coffee delivers a high-octane, patriotic punch of flavor. With a long family history of a commitment to freedom, every bag is a testament of pride and honor, from the skilled farmers who cultivate each blend to their roasters that handpick the finest coffee beans from around the world. Loaded Gun Coffee has mastered their unique brewing methods, resulting in the best tasting coffee around. This coffee is smooth and delicious, the perfect way to start your mornings. Get over to badlandsmedia.tv/loaded and use promo code Badlands to get 10% off your order. And if you're in the Lake Havasu area, stop in their newly renovated store and say hello. Tell them Ash and CannCon sent you. Again, that's badlandsmedia.tv/loaded. Promo code Badlands. And stay loaded, Badlanders, with Loaded Gun Coffee. You can catch them on episode 12 of America First Stories. And I've told you I've been drinking Loaded Gun Coffee for a little over a year now. Yeah, I love it.
I totally forgot my hat.
My hat's
It's the first time I've ever forgotten to put on my hat during the Loaded Gun ad. I'm so discombobulated by Fauci.
There you go. I've been drinking their coffee for a little over a year, and I absolutely love it. I try new flavors here and there, but I'm pretty hooked on the butter pecan.
Yeah,
or
you've always said that.
pecan, depending on which one it is. But you know what's great about Loaded Gun Coffee is it goes fantastic with our next sponsor, in my opinion, just my personal taste. But tell our fine audience about Earth Echo.
This episode is brought to you by Cacao Bliss from Earth Echo, a ceremonial grade cacao drink with 7 superfoods that lower appetite, boost focus, and calm anxiety. Raise your hand if you start every morning with coffee. Researchers at Johns Hopkins found that theobromine, a natural compound in cacao, gives you up to 6 times longer lasting energy than caffeine, with no jitters and no crash. Drinking cacao as a morning ritual is over 5,000 years old. Today's sponsor has brought that ancient habit into the modern world, and it tastes like hot chocolate. Most people have never heard this. The Kuna people in Panama drink 5 cups of raw cacao every single day. Harvard researchers discovered their rates of cardiovascular problems are 9 times lower than Americans, and cancer rates are 15 times lower. Their energy, weight, and mental clarity stay remarkably strong into old age. The reason is flavanols, natural compounds in raw cacao that modern chocolate processing almost completely destroys. Research shows high flavanol cacao can increase stem cell counts by up to 220% and improve blood vessel function by 47%. But you need the real ceremonial grade form. Learn more and get your special discounts and free shipping today at trycacaobliss.com/badlands. That's trycacaobliss.com/badlands.
I absolutely love.
I love it too. So once I figured out how to drink it, I became a super fan.
So good. Yeah, Christy does it the way that's recommended in the instructions, like the suggestion
With
and
the nut milk and stuff. She was telling me about that.
yeah, she does it that way. I just add it to my coffee and I love it. I fill this thing every single morning. I fill this thing up and probably about to there. So pretty high.
Tread on my cacao.
Don't tread on my cacao. There you go. And the best thing about it is like when you get to the last cup, which I'm always on the last cup. I'm pouring the last cup right as daily's starting. You got to shake it up, get all the whatever's on the bottom kind of mixed in.
It's like a truffle in the bottom of your cup.
Yeah, it's so good at the end.
Yeah.
It's like you're getting like a chocolate like punch to the face, and I love it. All right.
You're getting rebuked in the chat for your pronunciation of pecan. Really? It's pecan. Like you're a Klingon.
So we've had this discussion. I don't want to go off on a tangent here. It's pecan pie and it's pecans if you're eating them. If it's singular, like as a thing, if it's an adjective to describe a type of pie, it's pecan pie.
Well, yeah, I mean, that makes sense because it's Nevada if you live there and Nevada if you're retarded. So that totally
it's Nevada if you actually know phonetics and you pay attention to word what's it called where words come from?
What?
There's a term for it. I can't think of the term for where words come from. Etymology. I always confuse etymology with entomology or whichever one is the bugs. What's the bug one? I don't know. We're going off on a tangent.
We are, yeah.
So let's get into the Fauci hearing, guys. So we talked about this yesterday, and I kind of said I was hoping it would get canceled because I don't want Fauci going in there. I did not want Fauci going in there and spilling his guts before the House or before the Senate committee here. And I don't think we're going to get that, but let's go ahead and play a couple clips here before we get into the hearing itself. This was RFK Jr. yesterday on Ingram.
He's going to testify in front of Rand Paul's committee this week. He has immunity against all of the things that he did prior to President Biden signing over
stupid Brave. Go ahead.
The electronic pen, signing his pardon, but he could perjure himself now. Well, there are many things that he said that we know are lies, and Rand Paul presumably is going to ask him about those things. And if he lies again, then he could be subject to perjury prosecution.
Well, now you're muted.
All right. StreamYard changed something in their settings where now, like, I have to click off share audio for Brave. I never had to do that for 5 years. Never had to do that. Now I have to do that.
Etymology is the study of words. Entomology is the study of bugs.
Etymology and entomology. Bugs and words, they go hand in hand, right? They go hand in hand. And I know more about both subjects than Ashe, of course. So
certainly bugs. You do live in Florida.
Here's John Yoo, former Assistant Attorney General, talking about the pardons.
He's either lying then or is he lying to his diary? Who is it? And tell us now. And you're right, Brian. He can't claim that the pardon would cover any of his answers now. You can only be pardoned for lying to Congress from before the pardon. If he commits a lie before Congress now, he'll be committing a federal crime and could be prosecuted.
I mean, he's saying, I didn't shut anybody down. I never shut any schools down. And then we find out in his diary, spoke with Bill de Blasio, mayor of New York City, convinced him, based on what I was saying publicly in my conversation, to shut down New York City schools. Had a similar call with
Okay, we're going to talk about that segment in a little bit later on. But, that is, and then let's, of course, get to, hold on. Okay, so this is a clip-intensive opening to the show here.
And what Senator Rand Paul, a doctor himself, was questioning did not get straight answers. And so this hearing that's coming up is going to be an explosive one. I think it's in danger. It's perilous for the doctor. But you know what? He very well may go into that hearing, just plead the fifth, because he thinks he's sitting there with a prophylactic pardon from Joe Biden. But I think there's legal challenges given that it was done on an auto pen. I think there's some peril there. So, but it's just disgusting. Millions and.
All right. So again, that all leads to this moment right here.
Well, hang on a second. That's a really good point. Okay.
Hold on. Because I made that point yesterday, but.
Gotcha.
Although it pains me to do so, because of the respect I have for the legislative branch of government and my decades-long record of cooperating with Congress, under the advice of my attorneys, I will invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution to refrain from answering your questions. Thank you.
So there we have it. He has pled the Fifth Amendment, and I don't know how he's allowed to do that.
Well, so a federal pardon doesn't protect against state level crimes.
It's a federal body you're in front of.
Right, but anything that he says in that body can and will be used against him in a court of law, ostensibly. And so he does have the right. And just because we hate Dr. Fauci and we want to see him get all of the justice doesn't mean that we throw out rights, because that is that's how they get you. They make you hate Fauci. They get you to throw out rights, and then the next thing your rights don't matter anymore.
And so if that's the case, then throw away any idea that pardons you no longer can plead the Fifth Amendment because of self-incrimination. Get rid of that completely. Don't talk about it, because if you're just going to sit there and say, I don't have a pardon in all 50 states. Yeah.
Repeal the 50.
No. Not repeal the Fifth Amendment. Repeal the idea that this precedent that once you're given a pardon, you can no longer incriminate yourself, and so therefore you are compelled to testify.
But I don't think that's just a talking point. I don't think that's like some aspect of law that we that we need to repeal or change. I think that's a talking point, and particularly a talking point that was used by Rand Paul to set up this moment. He's been talking about that since the pardon came down, I believe, that Fauci is going to have to testify now. I don't think that was ever true, because you have the right to remain silent. And even though he has and I mean, he's certainly not acting like his pardon is real, right? None of us actually believe his pardon is real. The auto pen pardons, I think, are invalid. But you know what we need, Brian? We need somebody to challenge that in a court of law so they can be declared invalid. That's what has to happen, because they're going to stand. The pardons are going to stand until they are challenged and adjudicated. And so this could be setting up that, which I would be absolutely in favor of.
Well, that ties into the point I was making last night with that oversight project statement, the either or being the most significant statement or question that's presented to, I don't even know who it's necessarily presented to the American public, about did Joe Biden know that he had classified documents willfully against the law and disclosed them to somebody that was not qualified to receive that information? Or was he so cognitively impaired at that point already, 3 years before he was quote unquote president, that he didn't realize what he was doing, and therefore you 25th Amendment him retroactively? Nothing he did was of cognitive sound mind, or he was a criminal going into the office. And either way, you disqualify those presidential pardons. And again, I don't know if Fauci is doing this because specifically he knows that the pardons are illegitimate, or because of the argument that you bring up about states being able to prosecute him. But I did, just quickly ask the machine, and it says, yes, usually for pardoned of federal offenses, but not necessarily for everything. And so this, it goes on to say, presidential pardon eliminates the realistic risk of federal prosecution for the pardoned conduct, which means the Fifth Amendment privileges may no longer apply to questions about that offense. Here's the problem. We don't know what the offense is because it's a preemptive pardon. So we have no idea what Fauci is actually either guilty of or being accused of specifically. And so there's no articulated crime in this case, which to me brings up the whole question of the legitimacy of a preemptive pardon in the first place. How can you pardon somebody for something that the American people and you yourself as the quote unquote president have no idea the extent of the crime? If during that period, Fauci literally went out there with a handgun and executed 30 people on the floor of his home, he's pardoned from that.
Yeah.
And that's absurd to think that the president could do that.
Well, yeah. And I don't think he is. I don't think the president can do that. I don't think that preemptive pardons for unknown criminal right? Like that. I don't think that is a thing that would lawfully hold up. But again, the administration, the DOJ, whomever, or state level prosecutors have to challenge it. It has to be challenged or it will stand. It's like Ketanji Brown Jackson. She stands as a Supreme Court justice until it is challenged as to whether or not her appointment was lawful or via auto pen. And until that's challenged, she will continue to be the most retarded Supreme Court justice that the U.S. has ever had.
I mean, even if she's just going to go down in history as the most retarded.
She should go down in history as the first justice to be removed because she was unlawfully appointed.
Let's go. All right. So we do have this clip here of Fauci's attorney being removed from the chambers.
But the attorneys are not recognized. In fact, the attorney was told not to sit at the table, and he's not obeying that recommendation. There's a row behind you, sir. That's where you were told to sit, and you're not. And now you're disrupting the proceedings. And so, look, this is the way Anthony Fauci wants to be remembered. For a lawyer not listening to the rules. That's the way you want to be remembered, and that's what you're going to do. You are not recognized, sir. Security, please remove him from the room.
Let's go. See the guy in the back rocking his
Laura
head.
Ingram's in the back.
Yeah, I see her there. GTFO. It's the most exciting thing that happened so far.
Let the record state that Dr. Fauci will still have the advice of the other half a dozen attorneys that have gone along today. But
why does a guy with a pardon need so many attorneys?
Right. Who is this woman over this one? I think woman. Who is that? I know who that is. I just
Which woman?
Over Fauci's left shoulder to the left of Ingram in the row in front of her.
With the brown hair?
Yeah, and the
I can't see her whole face. I don't know. Let me see if I can make that bigger. Oh, I don't know.
Somebody in the chat will know who that is. I can't think of who that is, and I don't know why it's driving me crazy. But anyways, so there we have it. Yesterday I was saying I don't want Fauci to go in there and testify. I said yesterday I hope he gets canceled because I do think there's a question of the legitimacy of the pardons, and I didn't want him to go in there and actually be compelled to testify. And then after the pardons are nullified, he turns around and he's like, well, all of that testimony you have to throw out. And now I am going to plead my Fifth Amendment rights, and I'm going to remain silent.
Everyone in chat says that's Fauci's wife.
Is it?
She's real young.
I think so.
I thought his wife was like the head of NIH or NIAID, like in.
Yeah, that is Fauci's wife. Yeah, Christine Grady, nurse, bioethicist, and researcher. She is the chief of the Department of Bioethics at the NIH. Oh, get her out of that position.
Bioethics. Bioethics.
Why are they all married? Why are they all married to trans women?
Bigfoot might joke. Bioethics is about as real as the air gap in our elections.
Okay, let me strike that comment about the trans women. Why do they always look like they have transgender spouses? Schumer, Fauci, like why? Like,
is she years transgender?
Yeah.
Pull her back up. Pull her back up, because I feel like that's a little. I feel like that's a bridge too far.
Oh, come on.
Am I looking at the wrong person?
This one right here, all the way, the last person on the right with the.
Oh, that's the wife?
Yes.
I thought you were talking about the woman with the brown hair over the other shoulder, the cute little young looking girl.
No.
That's why I was that was that. Okay. All right. That's a woman.
Exactly my point.
Fair.
Exactly.
I was looking, my apologies to the room. I was looking at the wrong shoulder.
Yeah, that, yeah. All right. Anyways, staying on the Fauci thing for a little bit longer here, because I know Ash has been dying to talk about Fauci. Here was Fox News yesterday. We played a middle portion of this clip, but I just want to start with the beginning of this because F Fox News.
Revelations in Dr. Anthony Fauci's newly released diary entries. It isn't so much about his hubris or what we now know about him as a man and how self-obsessed he seemed, but it's about what the rest of us as people living through a COVID pandemic who might have used better leadership medically from him. It's about America. The Wall Street Journal editorial board writes it this way: the COVID record shows that Fauci's advice was often wrong, and in the case of lockdowns, catastrophically so. This is why voters increasingly rebel against rule by experts. After reading the Fauci diaries, the real question is why we ever allow such a person to rule over us in that way again. Your reaction?
We didn't allow anybody to rule over us like that. By the way, Fox News, you guys were disseminators of that message. You guys played Fauci every single time. Every single time Fauci was at the podium, you guys were enamored by him. Very rarely, especially in the beginning, did Fox News ever push back against Fauci. They would put Trump up there and they'd be like, fact checking Trump in real time. Now, I don't remember. I was trying to find it. If I don't, and I know they did, I just don't remember to the extent that they had the little death tracker on the side, right? CNN had that thing up during commercial breaks. CNN still had the death tracker up on the right-hand corner of the screen. But Fox News was no different. And for them to come out now and be like, we need better leadership. No, you guys were the disseminators of that information. You guys were the ones that latched onto that and ignored all the other doctors out there. Yale doctors, Harvard doctors that had been practicing medicine for years that were looking at this and saying, something's not right here. Something's not right here. The looks that we did, the digs that we did on EcoHealth Alliance back in 2020.
Yep.
EcoHealth Alliance and Peter Daszak and Rick Barrick, excuse me, Dr. Zhang Li, the Bat Lady, Zhang Shi Li. This was all stuff that was right there in front of you to show you what this was. And Fox News was like, oh, Fauci.
Yeah,
Are you sure we need to wear masks? Okay, you said we need to wear masks. Okay, we pushed back just enough.
You need to just put on 2 masks, and you're good. Maybe 3. Maybe 3 masks will actually stop the virus this time. I don't believe that any of these media companies get a pass. I think you're right. They were absolutely complicit. And Brian, don't forget Event 201. Yes. Why has even in these, very made for TV congressional hearings that we see on the matter, even going back years with Rand Paul, when Fauci would answer questions, right? And they would fight and it would be great TV and everybody would be like, yeah, why aren't we talking about Event 201? Event 201 was the dress rehearsal for the pandemic. It was a total coincidence that they were doing a dress rehearsal and Avril Haines was talking about how to handle dissent in the United States of America in October of 2019, rather, a month before the first case was reported in Wuhan, almost to the day, 1 month before the first case of coronavirus, allegedly, was reported in Wuhan. They were doing Johns Hopkins, all the intelligence agencies, the World Health Organization, the global regime was doing a dress rehearsal about how to handle a coronavirus pandemic. And we're told that that was a coincidence. Oh, you crazy conspiracy theorists. You think that, well, yeah, actually, I do think because the methods and response that was done through tabletop exercises in that dress rehearsal is exactly what they did. It's exactly what they did 1 month, beginning 1 month later when the quote unquote pandemic started. I think every single one of these people needs to be rolled up. And I think it's a really, including the media that propagated this message and abandoned journalistic integrity and abandoned journalistic curiosity to just carry the message of the state as they were subjugating the people, destroying lives, resulting in widespread death, we are told, and stealing an election. And so, yeah, I think it's a really good thing that in places like Colorado, in my state, they've spent so much time getting people out of prison, right? They've really just released so many people, which means we have capacity. So roll all these people up, lock them up, and let's do the tribunals. And no, they don't get their friends to oversee the tribunals. That needs to be done by the people.
Remember this guy, Dr. Peter Hotez?
Including their kids. That's the single most important thing right now the American people have to do.
Dr. Peter Hotez is the person that we like to go to for the sort of expertise.
Single most.
It's the same Fox News reporter we were just playing saying, we had bad leadership. You guys helped disseminate that message.
Roll them up.
Helped disseminate that message.
If you're a journalist, curiosity is part of the job. You're supposed to follow the story where it goes, and you're not supposed to be beholden to the state and helping them cover it up. But we have the latter.
Not all of us bought into it. Gaina Fauci put this gem, a rehash here.
Oh, this was a great moment. I remember this.
I remember watching this live, like as it was airing.
As it was happening, yeah.
The people in America are not settled with the information that's been given to us right now. So I'm not going to be lining up taking a shot on a vaccination for something that wasn't clear in the first place. And then you all create a shot in miraculous time. It takes years to create vaccination.
Well, it used to take years.
Okay, it used to.
You know how many years were invested in this approach? About 20 years of science to get us to be able to do it. 20 years is not enough.
And 9 months is not enough for nobody to be taking no vaccination that you all came up with.
The only reason I'm talking to you right now, as close as we are, is that I've been vaccinated.
Right.
But if it allows thousands of people like you don't get vaccinated, you're going to let this virus continue to percolate in this country and in
criminal.
Like the common flu, then, right?
And not
it's
like
much more.
Well, the flu killed a lot of people annually too.
How many people died of the flu the last year? I mean, not this year, virtually none, but the previous year, about 20 to 30,000. You know how many people have died from COVID-19 in the United States? 600,000 Americans.
Well, the number that you all giving that died, that's once again, that's you all's number.
You gonna
I love this guy.
Because when you start talking about paying people to get vaccinated, when you start talking about incentivizing things to get people vaccinated, it's something else going on with that.
Yup.
It's something else going on.
It is something going on.
It's something else.
You're right. But I'm glad millions of people like me.
What was that? There is something going on with it. You're right.
You're right. Yeah. Weed and donuts. They gave away weed and donuts.
It was protecting their health and protecting the city.
Well,
But I won't keep you anymore.
It's okay, because
Thank you.
my since y'all campaign is about fear. It's about inciting fear in people. You all attack people with fear. That's what this pandemic is. It's a fear. It's fear, this pandemic. That's all it is.
Love that guy.
Let's go.
Yeah.
That dude, he's definitely a Badlander. Whether he knows it or not, he is definitely a Badlander. And then, you know, just for nostalgia.
Fries when you get vaccinated? I got vaccinated. You're saying I could get this? These delicious fries?
Which costs what? $2.50, $3 for that side of fries?
Element to this?
Maybe $10 for the whole meal.
Still need hard. Is it too early in the day to eat no. This can be breakfast? Okay. I want you to look at this and think about, again, some people love hamburgers, some don't. Really want to respect all ways of life. But if this is appealing to you, just think of this when you think of vaccination. Vaccination. I'm getting a very good feeling about vaccination right this moment.
Never forget, guys.
Never forget. Because in you know, I know that you guys struggle with liberty around cannabis down in your state, but here in my state, cannabis is legal, and they gave it away. You could get a free joint if you got vaccinated. Think about that for a second. Krispy Kreme, free donuts if you get vaccinated. So get
They were giving away free donuts for a year for some people that got vaccinated. Lottery tickets. Are you frozen, or are you just giving me the I interrupted you? She's frozen. Okay. I thought that was the you interrupted Brian face. She's actually frozen. Look at that face, guys. Is it frozen at the same point for you guys as it is for me? Because this is just epic if it is. This is just epic if it is. Is it frozen with her eyes closed? Yeah, it is. That's perfect. All right. We'll get Ash back here in a second. In the meantime, let's play this clip here of Fauci talking about shutting down the schools.
If you go back, and I ask anybody to go back over the number of times that I've said we've got to do everything we can to keep the schools open, no one plays that clip. They always come back and say Fauci was responsible for closing schools. I had nothing to do. I mean, let's get down to the facts.
I had nothing to do with it. I went on a little dig this morning through the diaries, and this was on page 56. I spoke with Bill de Blasio and convinced him, based on what I was saying publicly in my conversation tonight, to close the New York City schools that he had already decided based on what I was saying on TV. Sounds like you had something to do with it, Mr. Fauci. I went on to tell him that he should close the bars and restaurants in New York City, and he said he would base this on my recommendation. Also, Governor Cuomo, page 44, calls me up and asks my advice on whether to close schools in the Orthodox Jewish section of Westchester, where they have 90 cases, more than the rest of New York City. I told him yes. He also asked about closing subways. Not yet, but stay tuned. Going on, I had a similar call with Ann O'Leary, the chief of staff of Governor Gavin Newsom. Ann said that based on my TV appearances today and yesterday, the governors decided to close the schools. I had nothing to do with it. When I left the White House, I love this part. This is just the egotistical douchebag that he is. When I left the White House and crossed Pennsylvania and 17th Street, Keck, several cars honked their horns and shouted, "Thank you, thank you, govern me more, daddy." Came out with guidelines that reflected my pushing for a more aggressive mitigation, 15-day strategy. If you're elderly, self-isolate, do not congregate in groups. If there's more than 10 people, stay away from bars, restaurants, theaters, sporting events. If a community has community spread, close the bars, restaurants, and places of congregation. Close schools where there is community spread. So, yeah, just stick with the facts, Fauci. You were giving advice all up and down, left and right, to close schools. And,
but not subways. But
Yeah.
not the subways, which if you've ever been in the New York subway in rush hour, you're intimate with people. You're like 2 inches from people, not 6 feet. And close schools, close bars, close restaurants, close areas where people are having community and connection. but keep the subways open. None of this was scientific. None of it made sense. And just back to because my computer crashed. Apologies, everyone. But just back to the point about the burgers and the fries and the weed and the donuts. People were dumb enough to get myocarditis for a free donut.
Which also can lead to myocarditis.
Which also, yeah, but it's faster with the vaccine. You get there, faster.
God forbid we give them health incentives. You know, that was one of the things that like blew my mind. And I've talked about this quite a bit. When COVID first kicked off and everybody was freaking out, remember there was a toilet paper shortage. You couldn't find toilet paper, paper towels. Everybody's like,
yeah.
Does COVID give you the shits or something? Like why are we freaking out about toilet paper? Meanwhile, I could go to Walmart, Publix, my grocery stores, my pharmacies, wherever, and I could find shelves full of emergency and, you know, some of the other vitamin supplements that would have actually boosted your immune system, vitamin C and other vitamins that would have helped you, you know, prepare your body for, you know, potentially getting sick. That was in abundance, but toilet paper, couldn't find toilet paper. That was part of a psychological operation. You cannot convince me otherwise. There was a coordinated effort. They said, let's see what we can do. This is an experiment. Let's see if we can influence the American people in a way that we make them think completely illogical and convince them that buying toilet paper is somehow essential for the COVID pandemic. Because God forbid we run out of toilet paper and nobody knows how to wipe their ass with anything other than toilet paper.
That would be a great inconvenience. I came back into that because we were in Florida on spring break when the country shut down. And so we, you know, when everybody panic shopped, we were on the road. So when we came back to panic shop, right, we came back to try and get food, try and get all this. There was nothing. There was cauliflower crust pizza. That was the one thing that there was an abundance of when everybody had panic shopped the stores. There was no like regular frozen pizza. That was all wiped out. But the cauliflower crust pizza, nobody was buying that in the pandemic.
Yeah, the only thing I bought canned goods. Because I already have emergency food. And I was like, God forbid something does happen here. I don't want to have to dig into my emergency food, like my long-term 20-year shelf life emergency food. So let me buy like a couple $100 worth of canned goods. And that way, if something does happen and there's a, food outage or shortages or whatever, I can go through that first in the very short term before having to go into, like long-term supplies and start dwindling that stuff. Also, I had a plethora of ammo too, but to the school point, though, I just want to wrap up that segment here. Patriot Control put this out on X here, and it is just a montage of President Trump saying, we got to open the schools. What are you guys doing? Open the freaking schools. Fauci says, that wasn't me. Stick with the facts. Well, the facts say that it was you, Fauci. You and many others, not just you, but yeah. You've been following the Dear Diary saga for quite some time. It's hilarious, by the way. The memes are gold on this, especially with AI now. The one of him, like, I can't play it on the show because it has I think
copyright
it's
music.
Lauper. Yeah, it's got Cyndi Lauper music playing. But you guys,
is it funny without the sound?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up and play it without the music, and you can just picture just girls want to have fun playing in the background.
Today I received
and him reading, and how can I drag it out? He's talking about how popular he is and how much everybody loves him, and he's so cool now, and he's like the happiest thing, and everybody's vaccines are so cool. It says there, stay safe. He's got the Babysitters Club, Saved by the Bell, the Lisa Frank on the walls. It's just it's epic. Now picture that the whole time with girls just want to have fun playing in the background, and you get the gist of it.
Yeah, anything less than Anthony Fauci being arrested in the middle of that hearing is going to be disappointing. I said that in the brief. I stand by it.
Wait, anything less than him being arrested after the hearing?
During it.
Well, you're going to be disappointed. That's not going to
No, I know. I'm prepared to be. I'm not on that rug.
Well, you kind of are.
No,
I said else is disappointing. You're putting yourself on a rug for disappointment.
But I don't expect anything other than disappointment from the Congress ever. I don't think that they're capable of doing anything other than disappointing us. The only appropriate answer for what with the diaries coming out and people seeing, it's not even like the masking and stuff is, is enraging, because those were the things that created such conflict with us and our neighbors and in our communities is, you're not wearing a mask. Little old lady called me the C word in the grocery store because I wasn't wearing, she looked like a lovely, nice little old lady, but I was so offensive to her because I wasn't wearing a mask that she used the word "see you next Tuesday" in the grocery store. That's because of the guidance that was put out. That stuff's maddening. But when you look at the case rates, we actually know that it's 0.2 to 0.3 versus the 2% we're saying it is. That's astounding. The admissions in his journal point to war crimes. He is a war criminal, and it led to mass death. The guidance, the treatment of this led to mass death. And that's not the first time that's happened with Anthony Fauci, because also during the HIV epidemic, the treatment led to mass death. This is a pattern with this guy. He's a war criminal and he needs to be rolled up immediately. I can't believe that he is walking around free. I really can't. In his own words, he has admitted his crimes in his diary and he's still walking around free. People are still out there calling him a hero. People are still defending him. That's the real story. These Democrats up there and some of the Republicans, even, tempering their language. Langford comes to mind, tempering their language. They're still covering for this guy. Well, that means you're complicit, in my opinion.
I plead, going back to your Congress statement, I plead the Hulk. People ask how you're not disappointed. I am disappointed all the time, specifically when it comes to Congress.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's move on. Unless you have anything else on Fauci, other than I still think that he doesn't get prosecuted till post midterm elections. We talked about this on Why We Vote last night,
which was an excellent show that people should watch.
Yeah, it was a good show, and my article dropped this morning, so we'll cover that here when we get into the Aswavana or whatever.
Yeah, we went a little rogue last night on Why We Vote, and we said all the things, and I think we're gonna, based on what we were texting about this morning, I think we're gonna continue that theme on the next Why We Vote. So,
next week we will actually have Marley Hornick on. There was a hiccup with her scheduling last night, so we had to kind of go off cuff a little bit there. Fly by the mullets on our sleeves.
The mullets on our shoulders. Our shoulder mullets. We had to fly by our shoulder mullets.
That's actually a good segue as we go into the next segment. Let's get a word from Soft Disclosure.
One hero, one mission, to deliver softness to America.
No, Chi-Chi, we can't stop for snacks, dude. We have to deliver all of these Soft Disclosure gift cards.
He goes by Zach Payne.
The motion detector.
Hey, stop fighting over the beer brush.
Life finds a way.
Hydrate your elbows, moisturize your soul. Feel the rhythm together. You feel alive and let the lotion roll. Soft disclosure, hear the cry. Maximum softness, do or die.
Muffin, hit it.
SoftDisclosure.com, promo code Muffin Hit It. I gave you the cut in
You did.
last night.
My bad.
Go ahead. It's all you.
SoftDisclosure.com, promo code Muffin Hit It. Also, just fun fact, promo code Badlands always works. You can see You see Alpha in there. Feel the rhythm together. It's my favorite, one of my favorite parts of the whole thing. But the reason I bring up other promo codes is because you need to be signed up for the soft disclosure email notifications. In the soft disclosure email notifications, our soft disclosure insider club, you will get exclusive discounts, exclusive product information. You'll know about new products that are coming before they hit the everyone sphere. And yeah, so make sure that you're signed up, softdisclosure.com, and get yourself some lotion, some beard oil, some tallow. It is the best lotion that I have ever used in my life. I use it on my face, I use it on my body. I even put it in my hair sometimes to smooth flyaways. It is the most fantastic lotion. You won't find it anywhere else. Softdisclosure.com, promo code Muffin, hit it.
All right. And John in Connecticut with the $10 rant saying, I need more big hair drumming Ash.
Me too. Me too. That's the first time I was in a soft disclosure ad, and I love it so much. And
we need to make a short version of that one. I think we got to be able to do it like towards the end, like
there's an outtake version of it. Did you see the outtake version of it? Green Star sent it to me. It's just you and me, I think, mostly.
I did. You mean the one where like I go like ham with the AR and I'm just like,
no, I'll find it. Hang on.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's jump into, we're going to shift gears here a little bit and talk kind of geopolitics, although it happened in the United States. President Trump had both Zelensky and Netanyahu in DC for the funeral of Lady Graham yesterday, throwing around Tic Tacs and everything else like that. And I want to play this. This is a refresher clip because President Trump, I meant to play this yesterday, but I didn't get a chance to. But here was Netanyahu a little while back when Trump was at the NATO summit in Turkey, or Turkey, as they like to call it, Turkey, and talking about the F-35 sales.
President Trump.
Okay, wait, pause. Just for while this is playing, I'm going to send you the outtake version. It's only like 30 seconds, so we should play it at the end of the show because it's fun. But I don't want to share it from my screen because that'll make the echo thing happen.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Now, he said this morning he will consider selling F-35 fighter jets to Turkey, which is a reversal of a ban he put in place. You said yesterday that would, quote, upset the power balance in the Middle East. Have you made that clear to President Trump?
Yes, I have actually spoke to him several times about it. And I think that everybody understands that notwithstanding the personal friendship that President Trump has with Erdogan, it doesn't make Turkey a friendly or a friendly state to the United States. To the contrary, it's a regime that's infected with the Muslim Brotherhood, which hates the United States. He harbors Hamas, the Hamas terrorists. He supports them. He finances them. He's thrown his opponents in jail, all of them. He throws more journalists in jail than anyone can understand. So he's not exactly a model ally of the United States. But even worse than that, he threatens Greece, a NATO ally. He occupies half of Cyprus.
Okay, so there we got the gist of it there. And then we had this update here from President Trump yesterday, or 2 days ago, excuse me. I meant to play it yesterday. And this was President Trump asked about Netanyahu and selling F-35s to Turkey.
Does disagree with you on the F-35s to Turkey. Are you going to tell Prime Minister Netanyahu opposes sending F-35s to Turkey? Are you going to tell him?
Turkey's been a great ally for me. I think he's done a very good job. Did a good job with Syria. He's a friend of mine, and nobody tells me what we should be selling. And Turkey's been a tremendous ally for me. It's up to Turkey. Turkey's not a big fan of Israel. You know that, right? And not a big fan of Bibi. But they've been great for me. Turkey has been great. Very powerful country, by the way. Tremendous military. Very big military. Very powerful military. Has a lot of great equipment.
Does Netanyahu want you to strike a deal on Iran? Or does he want you to keep attacking?
It's been fun. Bibi has been great. I'm not going to say it. He was a wartime prime minister. We did very well together. And if you look at Iran now, they're 8% of what they were 4 months ago. They're 8% of what they were 4 months ago.
All right. So President Trump saying nobody tells me what to do. Bibi, whatever he says It is what it is. We got a continuation of that.
Isn't Turkey a member of NATO?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, that's
And,
interesting.
one
Is
of-
Israel a member of NATO?
Nope. Turkey's
Oh,
one of the
fascinating.
OG members of NATO.
Yeah.
Like they go back all the way to the beginning of NATO.
Not saying
Also-
NATO's good, by the way.
No, me neither. But also, Ghost has been predicting this for quite a few months now that you're going to see kinetic action between Israel and Turkey, with Ukraine backing the Israelis in this, and even against Iran. And we just saw over the weekend Ukraine striking Iranian ships in the Caspian Sea. And so, you're kind of seeing that come to fruition here. And so now, as Netanyahu and Zelensky are in D.C., we got a couple more parts on this.
Both Ukrainian President Zelensky and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu requested meetings with President Trump while they were in town for Lindsey Graham's funeral. Fox is told the talks were more of a catch-up than anything else, but the topic of Iran loomed over both. Tonight, following his funeral, Senator Lindsey
Okay, so that's just going to be that little cut right there. Let's play this cut.
Ukrainian President Zelensky may be in the capital when it happens, after meeting with President Trump this morning, bringing evidence that Russia is aiding Iran's war effort. But the president reacted forcefully to news the Israeli prime minister planned to do the same thing in his meeting following Zelensky's and, quote, provide evidence of Iran's latest nuclear activity and demonstrate that Tehran is not currently negotiating in good faith.
I don't need Bibi to tell me that. Bibi's telling me that because he wants me to stay involved. We have the greatest cameras in the world focused on. We know exactly what's going on. But no, Bibi announced that. I said, why don't you just tell it to me? Why do you have to announce it to the world?
Sounds like a movie.
Sounds like there's not a lot of good blood right now between President Trump and Netanyahu, despite the the mainstream media saying that Trump, or not, the leftist media, I should say, saying that, Trump is Netanyahu's bitch. That one always makes me laugh when people say that.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's really interesting that he pretty much confirms in there that this is, it's for the public. It's a public narrative that's being deployed. Why wouldn't you just tell me? Why do you have to go out to in front of the cameras and tell the whole world? And, listen, we're in media. We love it when they come out and tell the whole world. But President Trump is, I think making a very important point right there.
Yeah. Also, just quickly, hat tip to MJ Truth Ultra for the clips there on X. Netanyahu here, and this has been pointed out. Some people are saying it's a nothing burger. No red carpet for him whatsoever. Just straight off the jet and straight onto a wet tarmac, concrete floor. Again, you might say that that's nothing, whatever, but I go back to the video that Ghost and I played many, many times when we had geopolitics of Erdogan's reception at the White House versus Netanyahu's reception. And Erdogan had the National Guard, he had a color guard.
Like dancing horses too.
No, that was not MBS.
Oh, it might have been MBS.
I think it was MBS.
Yeah.
They were Arabians, yeah. But when Erdogan showed up, they had, the flags all around the little circle area where the president receives them. They had an honor guard out there with the flags, all that. Netanyahu, nothing, no flags, no nothing. He just pulled up. Trump went out there, shook his hand, and they went inside. And
similar to the Zelensky reception.
Very similar. Yeah. And I think, it is what it is. We did get the first, one of the first known meetings of Netanyahu and Zelensky in person. And Ash, I want you to do the caption reading on this. Okay. If you want to use accents, more than welcome.
Yeah. Do we have a preferred accent? Are we going with the Zelensky accent? That one's a little tough for me.
So yellow is
give us credit.
Yellow is Netanyahu, and I think white is Zelensky.
So. Well, you have to be one of them. Who do you want to be?
I don't do the accent, but I'll go ahead and I'll do the yellow. Okay, so tell me what you want. Netanyahu. How can I help?
Well, to be honest,
miserably. You're failing.
I think I have a delay because yeah.
All right, I'll just do the reading then. Unless can you see it?
I don't see any words on the screen right now.
Not yet. Okay. You do all the reading, Ash. It's all you.
Okay.
And I'll slow it down for you.
Okay.
Slow it down for you. I thought this was epic.
Tell me what you want. How can I help? I need a little bit of cocaine. You got cocaine?
Whoa.
Whoa. I guess I can get you a little bit. Good, go get it. Like right now? Right now, please. Dude, we're at a funeral. Go get some coffee.
Okay. That
Okay, I go get
that was
coffee.
not the segment I had pictured in my mind. Okay, let's go. I got to do this. Whoa. Whoa, I guess I can get you a little bit. Good. Go get it. Like right now? Right now, please. Dude, we're at a funeral. Go get some coffee. You look like shit.
You're mixing up your accents.
Okay, I get coffee. But you get me a little bit of cocaine? Yes, I get you a little bit of cocaine. You're a mensch, whatever that means. You're taller than I imagined. I seriously thought you were a midget. Okay, that's it.
Oh, look at his
I wear
face.
special
Look at
boots
his face.
like Ron DeSantis. Does it say that? Oh, they missed the opportunity. I wear my special boots like Ron DeSantis.
So good. Love it.
That did not come out the way that it was supposed to, but it's all good.
That's what she said.
Oh, we're turning Lady Lindsay's funeral into a comic show.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was always going to be that, Brian. Lady Lindsay's funeral was always going to be a comedic event because we're pretending that he is, deserving of honors from the nation, and that's a joke. And but I do enjoy all of the people out there now saying that he's a good guy because his flag wasn't wrinkled.
It was wrinkled in some parts. That's just so.
He's damn near immaculate, man. There's no wrinkles in the flag. Told you he was a good guy. What?
Let's play that clip. I got it loaded up here. It's only 10 seconds, so we'll just play it now.
Yeah! Woo! Let's go!
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. All right. Let's jump into this story here. So we're going to get into the Asa of an Ah portion of the show now. By the way, if you guys are new here and you don't watch Why We Vote, you're going to get a rundown of how Venezuela and Georgia are strikingly similar at the end of this segment. But let's start here with Fox News.
If you're new here and you don't know what Asa of Na means, it means all shows are Why We Vote now.
States may defy DNC primary calendar as, quote, nobody is scared of Ken Martin, CNN reporter says. I didn't know that was a requirement. We'll get to that in a second. CNN's Edward Isaac Dovre says, quote, there's a possibility that a state could choose not to follow the DNC here and hold its primary whenever they want, Dovre said, as CNN host Manu Raju added that the New Hampshire wanted to do this. Now, this is in response to the DNC voting late last week that South Carolina was going to be the first primary state. And again, something that I've been saying for a couple of years now, that's their end goal, is to start their primaries in South Carolina because they have the worst elections of the first to primary states, and it sets the tone for the DNC moving forward. So Cover goes on to say, quote, and people saying, hey, the DNC is broke. They can't do anything to help us anyways. Nobody's scared in any way of Ken Martin as the chair. And so maybe they'll just go and violate it. It is not where the infrastructure of the party needs to be for going into 2026 and then 2028, Dover added.
I love it.
I thought that statement was pretty shocking to me, Ash, that CNN is saying that nobody's afraid of Ken Martin. Is that a requirement to be the leader of one of the parties? Is that people have to fear you so that you get in line? Like, is that not one of the most totalitarian things you've ever heard right there?
No, I mean, I get your point, but I think that there is to have a strong leader, the leader needs to be respected. So fear is, not necessarily.
Fear and respect are not the same thing.
Right. But in the absence of respect, you have to have fear from a leadership standpoint. If you don't have respect, then you have to use fear. They don't have either for this guy. And it's important to realize that these narratives are being deployed about the Democrats not respecting the, effectively chain of command within their party and the authority of the leader that they have in place, not respecting the process. All of that, those narratives are being deployed at the same time that the DSA is rising. And the DSA already doesn't respect any of the authorities and structures. Now, I don't blame them for that, because I don't have any respect for the authorities of the party either. Right. But as we're seeing this narrative continue to be forwarded, you and I talked about this last night about how real is the DSA versus the DNC. How real is that conflict? I'm more on the side of it's kayfabe than you are. We argued about it last night, but the Democrats not respecting the leadership and the authority and the infrastructure and the processes of the Democrats, that feels like we're setting up the narrative for the DSA to come in and disrupt that, and nobody to do anything about it because nobody respects the authority of Ken.
We'll get into that story next here, because I posted this in our group chat yesterday, and I think that this is a story I'm glad I'm gonna get to go through it with you on this show as opposed to by myself yesterday. But again, there's a strong difference between saying that nobody's scared of Ken Martin and nobody respects Ken Martin. And this host went directly to scared and doubled down on it, says it again. And I think that's a problem. And I think that anybody out there with, that's being honest inside of the party itself, saying that you have to have fear with the leadership there, because that's what the parties are now. The parties are your marching orders, right? That's where you get your marching orders from.
They always were.
Like you said, you can either lead with respect or you can lead with fear. You lead with your heart or you lead with the sword. And they're clearly showing here that Ken Martin can't do either, but at least they're expecting him to be able to lead with the sword. And that's horrifying. And that should be, a testament to, and it's, by the way, that's not exclusive to the Democratic Party. The only reason you're not talking about it with the RNC is because the RNC, there is the fear there. And that's why everybody gets in line behind the Save America Act with John Thune. That's why Lindsey Graham, we talked about this with Chad Caton on SitRep like a month ago, that nobody will step out of line in South Carolina because they were afraid of Lindsey Graham. They were afraid of Lindsey Graham, not because he had, whatever, because he could bury you. And that's the problem with our, politics today. But
yeah.
Reading on, it says the DNC voted at the end of June to strengthen penalties for states who participate in an unsanctioned contest in the early window of the presidential nominating calendar, according to a press release from late June. The rules include implementing a $270,000 fine for any state that hosts an unsanctioned contest and increasing the delegates lost for states that host an unsanctioned contest from 50% to 100%. Taking away 100% of your delegates if you get out of line with the DNC. Holy fucking shit.
Now nobody can share the show.
I don't care. Including all audit. Sometimes it's warranted, man. Sometimes it's warranted.
Fair.
And this is.
I dropped a bunch of F-bombs last night too. I can't. It's sometimes. The
penalty also prohibits any candidate's participation in DNC debates if they violate the early window rules. So now when you start talking about, nobody fears Ken Martin, you can see why they should fear Ken Martin, because of the power that the party actually has. If you step out of line and you conduct your primary as your state delegation sees fit, the party as a national delegation will take away your voice entirely. 100% of the delegates that your state is afforded by the party will be taken away if you host an unsanctioned contest. Ignore the fact that historically Iowa and New Hampshire have been the first states to go in primaries, Nevada being another one that goes first in the primaries, Nevada, and completely ignore all that. We voted through 26 people voted that we're going to change things completely how we do it. By the way, just one person over the threshold needed in order to make South Carolina the first state. And now all of a sudden other states are like, no, we're sticking with what we've done for the whole time. And by the way, if you do that, we're going to take away your voice completely. Man, holy shit. The Democrat Party is in shambles right now.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that the parties are effectively, private corporations outside the actual chain of the will of the people. And so this is part of the inversion of what's happened in our country. You and I both agree that we should repeal the we should repeal the 17th Amendment.
Yes.
What happened with the 17th Amendment is it went from the state legislatures deciding who the senators were going to be to represent the states within that chamber, within that body, and then it went to popular vote, right? But it's not the will of the people is not like it's a controlled opposition false binary that happens. And maybe it was more representative. The parties were more representative of where the people were back in the early 20th century. It's not today. Today, the political parties represent one faction, but have all the power and even have statutory authority, yet very little oversight and way too much. They're operating outside of the constitutional restrictions and limitations on power. They operate outside that framework entirely. And let's not forget that George Washington warned about this when he left office. We've seen it come to fruition. We've got to deal with the parties. We have to. If we want to solve this problem, if we want to get out of this dystopia that we've been living in for your and my entire adult lives, right? And before, probably our entire lives and most of our parents' entire adult lives, right? My mom was born in 1948, so probably her whole life too, right? We've been dealing with this, but the parties are the problem. And I have been saying this to Republicans since December of 2020, when Ken Buck, who was the head of the Republican Party here, came out and said, "Oh, no, we know exactly that our elections are free and fair, and we have the gold standard here. So don't listen to anybody. Listen to me, Republicans, because I'm telling you that we have everything under control." I said then, this is the fight. This is the fight. The enemy is inside the gates, and America First Republicans who are trying to do this precinct strategy right now and trying to reclaim the power in your party, you need to have your eyes wide open and realize that the people with entrenched interest inside of your party are working against you and working outside the parameters of the Constitution. Everybody said I was crazy and, mostly just being a bitch about things, but eat a dick. I was right.
Yeah, I don't think historically, going back to the 17th argument, and I don't think that I think with advances in technology today and the ability to disseminate information much more rapidly than we ever could have imagined, 100 years ago, I think it's always been this way. Maybe not to the same extent. Maybe there was a little more consolidation in the federal government, and as opposed to having its branches, its tentacles, and everything through the administrative state. But ultimately, probably since the 1930s, with the passage of the Administrative Act. What was it? Not the Administrative Protections Act. Why can't I think of it? 1932, the Administrative Procedures Act. There it is. The Administrative Procedures Act. I knew it was the APA. I couldn't remember what it was.
Which is now being dismantled, thankfully.
Thankfully. Thank God. Yeah. But all right, so let's jump back into this this article here. So Martin was asked about the DNC, what they would do if New Hampshire does go rogue in this, and he says, quote, we have put in significant penalties and sanctions, probably the most enforcement mechanisms ever, to make sure that folks know we are serious about making sure the calendar we put forth is abided by, not just by the parties themselves, the state parties, but also by the candidates. I love it, man. Continue down this path. The GOP will be next. And then let's jump into this article, Ash. And I want to read through this one real quick. You can stop me. You can stop me at any point, but let me try and get through. This was an article I saw yesterday from Axios, and I think it's fascinating. I don't agree with it entirely. I agree with it a lot, actually. But so behind the curtain, the 6 stages of political surrender. It says party transformations allow for. All right, get these tabs out of here. Yeah, so it's talking about the Republican Party saying it's surrendered to Trump, and then how the Democrats are now surrendering to the Democratic Socialists, and it's saying that Trump has already captured the Republican Party, and I hope that he has, and I hope that when he's done with it, he destroys it. You have to gain power to take away that power or to dismantle that power. Democrats swear that socialism's growing grip on their party is different and can be contained. The early signals suggest otherwise. Party transformation follows a predictable 6-stage evolution: recoil, squint, rationalize, submit, amplify, and purge. Each state has language that you can hear long before you see it in the votes. So talking about the Republicans, stage 1, recoil, denounce by name. Lindsey Graham called Trump a kook. He was unfit for office. Ted Cruz called him a pathological liar. That was 2016. Both later defended him against the exact words that they coined. Stage 2, squint, support without looking. Quote, I haven't seen the tweet, end quote, became the go-to response to House and Senate Republicans in Trump's first term when they were asked about the latest storm. Some did the binary dodge. The other side is worse. That's squint. Stage 3, rationalize. This is the yes, but stage. I don't love the style, but the judges, the tax cuts, the border, he's a fighter. This is where accommodation becomes the norm and the need to win Trump's style or tactics. The need to win Trump's style or tactics, not President Trump. Stage 4, submit. Dissent becomes career ending. House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy said on the floor that Trump, quote unquote, bears responsibility for J6. 2 weeks later, McCarthy flew to Mar-a-Lago to make peace. 3 years later, he was ousted as speaker. Silence becomes life and death survival. And stage 5, amplify. Fully adopt the vocabulary, or as my wife would say, the vocabulary. The style, the maximal claims, try to out Trump. After privately calling Trump America's Hitler in 2016, Vance is now vice president and routinely seeks to show his Trumpiness. That's almost every Republican now. And then stage 6, purge, actively work out to oust anyone who disagrees. You either fully accept, amplify, or get exiled. Hashtag Jeff Flake, Bob Corker, Liz Cheney, gone. Bill Cassidy, gone. Tom Tillis, gone. Cornyn, gone. And yeah, from there.
Gone.
Okay.
In the literary world, this article is referred to as a lamentation.
Well, I didn't know. You want me to keep going and get into the Democrat aspect of it now?
Yeah, actually, that sounds interesting.
Okay. So they're laying the foundation of how Trump.
I would just say that the point about President Trump being responsible for January 6th is utter garbage, and
Yes.
it was used to attempt to keep him off the ballot. Liz Cheney led that charge. The people involved in trying to remove a president for things that people unrelated to him did after he said the words peacefully and patriotically. The fact that they tried to remove him from office for that means all of them should be removed from office.
Okay, so getting into the Democrat side of the aisle here, with socialism, the Democratic base moved first, as the base always does. Gallup found last year Democrats viewed socialism more positively than capitalism by 24 points, the widest gap on record, and the sharpest among young voters. All three candidates, Mamdani endorsed, won their June 23 House primaries, defeating two incumbents, Brad Lander over Dan Goldman. I love that, by the way. I don't care who the opposing guy is. If you're getting Goldman out of there, I am all for it. I would take Stalin.
Yes, wrecking ball. Told you.
I would take Stalin over Goldman. Okay, maybe not Stalin, but pretty close.
Oh, maybe Stalin is misunderstood.
We got to look through the transcripts on him. Brad Lander over
Stalin or Mamdani. I think we need to see the full arc of Mamdani to be able to decide.
Fair enough, but Goldman is an absolute utter piece of shit. So Brad Lander over Dan Goldman, Claire Valdez over Brooklyn Borough President Darreliza Avila Chevalier, Adriano Espaillat, and the Congressional Hispanic Caucus chair was the leader. Excuse me. I can't read right now. Claire Valdez over Brooklyn Borough President and Darreliza Avila Chevalier over Representative Adriana Espaillat, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus chair. Okay, so sit that with a Jeffries-endorsed incumbent that lost to a Democratic Socialist. That's stage 4. Machinery switching on with the primary electorate punishing the establishment side of the fight. It's not just in New York. In Colorado, 29-year-old Democratic Socialist Malat Quiros toppled 15-year Diane DeGette, who leans progressive. Quote, it's not socialism, it's affordability, is the left's, it's not the tweets, it's the judges. Textbook early sign of stage 3. Bill Daley, former Commerce Secretary and White House Chief of Staff, told us Democrats can't rationalize a candidate saying, quote, oh, I didn't mean it when I said or agreed with a crazy idea a while ago. Instead, Daley said they need to aggressively denounce, quote, out of mainstream ideas and plans and go after actual socialists by, quote, shoving that platform up their noses. I told you last night, Ash, that they are terrified of the DSA takeover of the Democratic
I
Party.
still think it's kayfabe.
Axios putting this out there tells me it's not. And they're drumming up, they're circling the wagons around.
Because Axios is a beacon of journalistic integrity that always tells the truth.
But Axios is a beacon to the Democratic establishment. This is what the Democrat left reads as the middle, fair and balanced outlets. Axios, The Hill, those are the outlets that they look to as they're not MS Now, but they're fair and balanced down the middle. And I'm telling you, this is them.
But thinking people don't believe that.
No, but we're not talking about thinking people.
Okay.
The 27% of the country that is left in nature are not thinking people. They still
The end
think
will not
shit
be for
is
everyone,
okay.
buddy.
Yeah. The Wall Street Journal warning Dems that the quote unquote Tea Party trap that befell the GOP, Daley wrote, quote, Democrats are fooling themselves if they think a similar hijacking can't happen to their party. The counterpoints, socialism has no enforcer yet. Trump ended careers personally. An idea can't unless someone becomes the idea. Mamdani endorsing, campaigning, and toppling incumbents is what an enforcer looks like in beta, but it's hard to see Bernie Sanders or AOC taking this national.
Hold on a second before you move to the next one. Trump ended careers personally. An idea can't unless someone becomes the idea. Bullshit.
Trump isn't.
The idea that elections are stolen ended a lot of careers. The idea that vaccines weren't safe and effective ended a lot of careers. And you had enforcers, but it was the idea that was the problem, and it was stopping the idea that was the problem. I hate the mainstream media.
I know. I'm not reading this because I think it's necessarily true. I do think it is.
You're doing it just to piss me off.
In part. I do think it is slightly prophetic. I do think that they are trying to create, to manufacture a problem, or at least trying to get out in front of a problem. And I do think there is going to be a problem for them. I could care less. I think anything that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And in a situation like this, where the
ideology.
If the Democratic Socialists are going to destroy the two-party system in coordination with the same factions that are going to destroy the GOP, I'm all for that. If you want to take down the Democratic Party from inside the same way that you should be taking down the GOP from the inside, let's go. I will root it on. From the sidelines, I'm trying to be journalistic in nature, so I'm sitting back. But I want to see that. I want to see the destruction of both parties.
Agreed.
Okay. The far left
mainly because there's only one party. And
exactly.
The two flavors of it is theater intended to keep us fighting each other with our jerseys on and not paying attention to the fact that they are actually one party and moving, no matter which one of them is in control, no matter which one has the gavel, no matter which one sits in the seat, globalism expands.
Yes, and that is a point that needs to be articulated, because somebody will be like, oh, this guy's just talking about this because he wants to destroy the party, so he's propping up the Democratic Socialists on the left. And no, I'm doing the same thing on the right. Like I want both sides to go in and just I'm trying to think of the movie. What was the movie where the little parasites flew around and they went inside things and just blew them up? It was like an alien life form. Yeah. Anyways, that's kind of what I want to see with both of these parties, and it's because of exactly what you said, that they're uniparties, they're establishment parties.
It's there's one. Stop using the plural of party.
Yes,
because there is only one.
The far left has no Fox News synchronizing base and elites. In fact, it's safe to assume the New York Times, The Atlantic, and MS Now will resist socialism at least initially. Are you kidding me? They will resist it, at least initially, but watch for the formation of a media ecosystem to counter them. There's already that too. This whole thing, like
the far left has no Fox News. I'm sorry. They're all. We talked about this with the COVID narratives. They're all the same too. the media is not party specific, and all of the media, aside from the idea of Fox News, still Fox News, but the idea of Fox News is that Fox News is this dominant, right-wing conservative platform. They aren't. When you look at the reporting, when you look at what they did during election fraud, 2020, what they did during COVID, what they did during Russia collusion, what they did there, that's in and of itself. But literally everything else is the Fox News of the left. every other outlet. This is retarded. Axios, you're retarded.
I'm telling you, they want to be retarded. They're just trying to seed an idea in their base's mind. This is not meant for people like you and me. This is not meant for our audience. We're just showing you the idea that they're planting, the propaganda that they are thrusting upon people to get in front of this battle that's going to take place in that party. Number 3, transmission is slower. Democratic voters, broadly speaking, are institutionalists. Republican voters wanted demolition. Submission to an insurgency may have a lower ceiling on the left. January 6th is about the closest that you could ever make the argument for Republicans wanting demolition. We went through an entire summer of love that was not just aimed at Republican institutions, but Democrat institutions as well.
Hang on. This is, scroll back down. That point is how you know the whole article is BS.
Yes.
Because they're saying Democrat voters are institutionalists. Republicans wanted demolition. Submission to an insurgency may have a lower ceiling on the left. Submission to resist, right? The resist movement going back to 2016. Axios here is attempting to detach the idea that Democrats respect institutions and want to protect them and separate that from the idea of destroying the institutions, breaking them down and rebuilding them in their own image. But the record of when Trump is in office and the behavior of Democrats and their, brown shirts is the absolute opposite of that statement. They don't have a lower ceiling. They have much more adoption of insurgency when President Trump is sitting in the Oval Office. They have much more accommodation and acceptance of insurgency against President Trump, not just from the fringes and the radicals in their party, from all of them. Remember if you see these people in the grocery store, at a gasoline station, get in their faces, those weren't DSA. Those were mainstream Republicans. There will be unrest in the streets as long as there is unrest in our lives. So yeah, your point is well taken. That number 3 is just a straight up lie.
I can go back. I can't remember who it was saying that Democrats created this and now they have to deal with it. It was you and me, I think, that had the debate. And I went back and found my tweet from 2020. From 2020, when I said Democrats created this, they're not going to be able to put this back in the bag. They're not going to. Yeah. They manufactured this as a resistance to President Trump, and now they have to live with what it's evolved into.
Yeah, so you and Brian and I had this argument last night on Why We Vote. Literally, everybody should go watch that episode of Why We Vote. It was really fantastic. Yeah. But the key dispute is I always believe that what you're saying, right? Like going back to December and specifically looking at my state, because DSA is very expansive in my state, and they are well accepted by the Democrat Party. There's partnerships. I was taking the position for a long time that the DSA was the wrecking ball that we needed on the Democrat side of the uniparty, because we Republicans and conservatives and libertarians and middle to right of center people, we don't have the ability to impact the Democrat institution, right? There's no ability to have influence there, but the DSA does. The DSA has the ability to be the wrecking ball. Where my mind changed on this and I landed on it's kayfabe is with the Tina Peters thing, because the DSA abandoned their principles about justice and criminal justice reform and prison reform. They just abandoned them. Even the NGO prison reform advocates were having were aligning with Tina Peters on prison reform here in Colorado, but the DSA jumped right into bed with the Democrat establishment and the Republican establishment when it came to Jared Polis commuting her sentence. That was, and we're talking about 9 years for a single lie. So that doesn't make sense unless you are operating on a political, on the kind of political direction of the uniparty. And when I saw the DSA abandon their platform and run and jump into bed with not just the Democrat establishment, but the Republican establishment as well, and all of them were lockstep on message, I started to change my mind on whether or not the DSA is real in terms of a wrecking ball to the Democrats.
And to the point that I've been making, that President Trump has been waging an internal war against the GOP, and the eventual point that we're going to get to is the destruction of the GOP. He did the same thing that you're talking about with the DSA and prison reform and Tina Peters. He did the same thing with the Iran war. The MAGA base that for the last 10 years, going back to 2016, has been like, holy shit, we don't have to be in forever wars. We don't have to be in all these foreign conflicts, is now like Iran nukes, right? Now, I firmly believe that Trump is doing something deeper than just no nuclear weapons. I do think there is an Israeli infiltration into Iran and a balance that has to be struck with Iran in order to bring about the Middle East peace. But that's not what Trump is telling us. And that's not what MAGA is saying that this war is about. MAGA is out there saying this war is over no nukes. Well, we've been told for a year now, almost more than a year, actually, June of 2025, that their nuclear capability is set back 20, 30 years, whatever. Yeah. Trump keeps putting that out there, and parts of MAGA are like, yeah, war, after being for years, no war, end all these wars. I think he's doing the same thing. Again, I think Trump is operating on a different level because he is the operator in this position. I don't think there is any centralized, like they said earlier, there is no centralized person in this movement that Axios is referring to. And so you can't have that, dual kind of approach to something like the prison reform and completely disavowing prison reform when it's proposed by somebody that's toxic to their movement. Tina Peters being toxic to the DSA movement.
But she wouldn't have been. Tina Peters wouldn't have been toxic to the DSA movement. She would have been the crossover that they needed to attract more people to join their ranks. Like it was such a political misstep. And that's why it was revealing that they're not real. The DSA is just like, this is an act. It's theater to make people believe that there's real division. And I don't think this, because I think they're all DSA. I think they're all communists. I think they're varying degrees in their public messaging, but they all believe that the state should control the means of production and that they should have the authority to tell all of us how to live our lives in every single aspect. They've proven that over and over again. The dispute between middle of the road Democrats and the DSA doesn't exist anymore because none of those people are middle of the road Democrats.
But that is the point that I've been trying to make for a very, very long time, is that we should be a nation of ideas and not party, buckets where you put everybody into a bucket. And you should be comfortable enough with your own personal beliefs and ideology that you can go out there and say, hey, Tina Peters is supposed to be a sworn enemy of mine, but she's freaking right about prison reform. The same way, somebody DM'd me on X the other day, and it's not somebody I follow, so it goes into like message requests. And for some reason, I saw it pop up and I clicked on it because you don't always see message requests. You go in there like once a month or something and see them. And they asked me how I felt about gay marriage. And I was like, well, I mean, personally, from my moral and ethical viewpoint, I'm not for gay marriage. However, as a nation, it has no bearing on me whatsoever. Congress, and this is something I said at GART, Congress has no authority to make laws regarding marriage, period. One way or the other, whether it's man or woman, whatever. And so that's where I stand in terms of, from a legal perspective of whether or not gay marriage should be a thing. So, I can stand with that. Like, Congress shouldn't be regulating that. That should be something that is up to, I don't even think states should be regulating that. I think, if a church wants to, implement marriage, I think it's a sacrament. In the Catholic Church, it's a sacrament. And so matrimony, for us should be man and woman as defined by the church, not by a legislator. And so
no, stop, pause, not defined by the church. Church doesn't get to define stuff as defined by the Bible, but also
yes.
the government should have no role in this whatsoever. The only reason the government has a role in marriage to begin with, whether it's between man and woman, women and women, men and men, or animals and people, is because of taxation. It's because they have inserted themselves in that exchange. Marriage, by definition, is a union of a man, a woman, and God. That's how that's where it came from. It's how it's defined. That's what marriage is in terms of what it is. The reason we're having this conversation at all is because the state has assumed the role of God. Right. And so now marriage is a union between an individual and another individual and the government. And that's an inversion. And that's why the government should have no role whatsoever in defining marriage. The reason we're caught up arguing about social issues and arguing about other people's morality is because the government has usurped that power and inserted itself inside of that exchange.
Because we're taking culture and putting it downstream, or politics downstream from culture. And that should not be the way that it goes. Culture and politics should not actually intertwine. They do, and they're going to intertwine forever, but they shouldn't.
How do you ever keep those two things separate? Politics is derived from the word polis, which is life.
You can't.
The city, it's the affairs of the people. You can't separate.
I got that, but you can't, because we've expanded the federal government, and that's what we talk about when we talk about this type of stuff, because we're talking, you're in Colorado, I'm in Florida, and we're talking about the same politics, and we shouldn't be. I mean, I enjoy it, don't get me wrong, but we shouldn't be. You know, you're way more active in Colorado politics than I am in Florida politics. But that's the thing, is that we've allowed the federal government to expand so much so that it does have direct impacts on us at a local level, even though we're in two totally different areas. And that's never the way it was intended to be.
Yeah. I think that the maxim that politics is downstream from culture is just the way things are. Like, I don't think we can actually affect that. I think that's a human nature thing, you know, but I do think we have the ability to affect how far politics can go. And we've failed to hold that line. We all of us, right? All of us, the people, have failed. You said, you used the words, we've expanded the federal government so much. And I'm not disagreeing with you. I think that's true. Also, we have failed to stop it, because with bureaucracy, when people get together and do stuff, it's always going to go that way. It's always going to expand. People love power. They're going to centralize it. They're going to amass as much of it as they can. And then they're going to fight like hell to keep it, right? The founders knew that. It's why our government was structured the way that it was, to prevent that. And we have failed to hold that line. And, you know, I think this whole season, we talked about this a little bit last night, I think this whole season of President Trump and the people supporting him, both publicly and from the shadows, has been about trying to solve that problem without violence. Because in every other historical example, the problem only gets solved with violence. And I think that the purpose has been to get us out of this mess and unwind this incredible overreach and usurpation without violence. We'll see whether or not that can happen. It's the reason we were talking about this last night was the idea that they've given us so much disclosure. They've given us so much information. They've brought us into such an understanding of how corrupt everything is. For them not to give us the payoff of a justice phase for that almost guarantees violence. And I personally think that they've been trying to avoid violence the whole time. So we'll see what happens.
I think you can have financial. I'm gonna coin the phrase financial violence as well, and I think that comes first before you actually get kinetic war or, you know, kinetic violence. I think people are just going to check out of the system. G-money, you know, just that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying.
You think the people broadly are in tuned and brave enough, courageous enough to just check out of the system?
You think I think they'll check out of the system long before they check into fatigues and body armor.
Oh, your idea of violence and mine are different. Yours is much more institutionalized.
Well, I am a Marine, so there's that aspect. All right, we got to move on. Hit a sponsor here, guys. I want to talk about crypto, because we hear a lot about crypto, but here's the part that most people miss. Crypto was created so you could actually own and control your own money after the 2008 financial crisis. Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of a bank holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, you are in control. And if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you felt that problem. Now, fast forward to today, and everybody's heard about crypto, but getting started still feels kind of complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. It takes all that complexity and makes it simple. Choose what you want, whether it's Bitcoin, dollar-backed stable coins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. There's no complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in just minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like us directly. So do this now. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description and download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. All right. And last thing on this note, I just want to play this because I thought it was hilarious that James Carville, the old man, the old Democrat here, the Raging Cajun, is passing the torch in the Democrat Party to...
if David Hogg wants to take it over, I don't really care.
Is David Hogg considered a middle of the road Democrat now?
No, he is the epitome of what you're saying is that this is a manufactured overthrow of the Democratic Party and that it's establishments masquerading as DSA. That's what I look at David Hogg as. David Hogg is 100%. The direction of the Democratic Socialists. Yeah.
Absolutely agree with you. And James Carville has been spending, the past several weeks talking about how he is not a part of the DSA party and he is not a communist and he is not. And then he passes the torch to David Hogg, who very much is those things. It's fake.
Hilarious. That's hilarious. That is the resistance, the fake resistance to the movement, the Axios article that we just covered. Axios is calling it out. James Carville saying, yep, we acknowledge it, but you know what? We're going to capitulate. We're going to just give it up. The Democratic establishment, we're just going to pass the torch to the new young buck Democratic Socialists, and David Hogg is going to be the leader, the Fed kid from Parkland, 5 minutes up the street from me. Yeah. Who's
Wasn't he not even there?
Well, there's all sorts of controversy around that shit.
He said he was hiding in a classroom, and it turns out he rode his bike to the school after it happened or something. I don't know the details of that well enough, but I do know that there's some controversy about whether or not he was even there. Right?
It's all very strange. That whole story is still strange. My city. I don't live in Parkland. I live in Sunrise, which is 5 cities south, but very small. It's
you stalked yourself.
It's a 10-minute. I don't care. Oh, my information is very public. If you're feeling froggy, leap. It's like a 10-minute drive up the road, and my city's SWAT team was the first SWAT team on scene up there, which was quite interesting. All right, so let's jump into some election stuff. Governor Shrill here basically saying that she is not going to comply with federal authorities on the voter registration list, despite acknowledging to 6,600 crimes.
The Trump administration is seeking, I believe by today, the list of non-citizens who are registered to vote and the approximately 400 that did vote. To what extent will your administration comply with the Trump administration's request in that regard?
As I have said, I am not in the habit of turning over private identifying administration information of the citizens of New Jersey. This federal government is weaponizing the government against individuals that disagree with them. They weaponized my private data against me in my election, and so I am working to protect people and their private data here in New Jersey.
It's totally fine if China has it, though.
All right. Thank you.
Also, we have all that data. So the New Jersey government that actually can do stuff directly to you under state law, we have all that information. Also, the federal government, the reason that they want to do it is because we've utterly failed you, and 6,600 people that are ineligible to vote in your state, in this country, are able to determine the politics for your particular state. So yes, please allow us to continue giving you shit politics in violation of the law and stop the government, the federal government, from coming in and saying, hey, we need to uphold the rights of your citizens. Just hilarious, downright hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is that these issues are being fast tracked to the Supreme Court, and it comes down to a matter of authorities. So we're going to get the authorities clarified. I don't know if they'll be clarified to our satisfaction, but we won't be in this kind of suspended state of ambiguity for much longer. I don't think that is one of the benefits. And we said this back during the Biden administration, that the prosecutions against Trump were clarifying authorities and setting precedents, right? Particularly around like the classified documents stuff. And does he have the authority to have these documents? Does he have the authority to declassify these documents on his when this goes to other authorities as well? And not most necessarily, but a lot of the lawsuits against the second Trump administration have been centered on he doesn't have the authority to do this. And the Supreme Court, I think more than not, has come back and said, yeah, he does. And we actually don't have judicial review on a lot of the things that the president is doing because of our separation of separation of the branches of government and the rights inherent in each one. So I would expect that we're going to see, at least on some of these issues with regards to elections, that they don't have judicial review, and that's a great thing. It's something we should consider if we want to continue, and if not, then we should change the Constitution. But as it stands right now, the president has vast authority. He has the single unitary executive is a feature of our way of government, and the idea that the Democrats are forwarding that the president is just kind of this lame duck that has to ask the administrative state and Congress to do anything is a new idea. It's certainly not the idea they held during the Biden administration or the Obama administration, right? But is the idea that they're forwarding now. It's bullshit. It'll be good to have it be declared as bullshit by the Supreme Court.
Moving on, because we're running out of time, and I do want to get to that article because I did promise the tie-in there. Donald Trump truthed this out. President Trump truthed this out last night. As quickly as he came, he rode off into the sunset. DNI Pulte is out. Congratulations to the great Jay Clayton on his confirmation by the U.S. Senate to be the next DNI. Jay is outstanding in every way and will do a spectacular job as director. So Sullivan Cromwell now running the DNI, and Sullivan Cromwell continues to run the SDNY in as Jamie McDonald, I believe, is the replacement there, another Sullivan and Cromwell individual. So like it or not, we've talked with Colonel Towner ad nauseum about the history of Sullivan and Cromwell with the three-letter agencies. And so that's all I got to say about that. I'm not a big fan of the Jay Clayton thing there, but I do think there's a reason for it. I'm hoping we see a little bit of the Sam Bankman-Fried SBF be brought back up again.
So it's your belief that we had Tulsi in the role who, she's the one that gave us the grand treasonous conspiracy, identified that this is much bigger than just a single issue, teed up, reviewed a whole bunch of information for declassification. It's now has been and is being declassified. Bill Pulte comes in, did the exact same thing he did at FHA. He goes in, takes the ball, runs with it to the point of dismissing 30% of the staff. And now the president's intention is to put another deep stater in charge of ODNI. That's your position?
No. So my position is that Clayton is there for a specific reason. He's one of two attorneys that was hired by Sam Bankman. What was his organization? The FTX. He was one of the people that was hired specifically by FTX to do an investigation into how all of that took place. This wasn't criminal. This wasn't, a legal, like, government investigation into it. It was FTX's investigation. And so I think there is something there with that. The only thing that I'm reluctant, obviously the Sullivan and Cromwell thing, I understand that if you're going to root out bad actors within the government itself, you have to understand how the government operates, and the best way to do that is from inside. And so, sure, maybe that's the case. I think he's got a very specific kind of scope in that regard. broadly, I mean, he's been at SDNY, which is arguably the second in command in the DOJ, right? It's the second most important role inside of the DOJ, outside of the Attorney General or arguably the Deputy Attorney General, if you believe that the tiers.
Why?
Why what?
Why is the SDNY the second more so than, say, DC?
Because everything goes through SDNY. Every case. I mean, look at Maduro. Where did Maduro go? SDNY. Where did Diddy go? SDNY. Everybody goes to SDNY. Sam Bankman-Fried, SDNY. Epstein,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the
SDNY.
cases about presidential authorities and what kind of government we have are in the DC circuit, though. Those are the more important ones, in my opinion. It's more important that we're dealing with the structures and forms of how these people have their decision rights than the certain criminal trials that are happening.
Sure, but that's handled by the DOJ at that point. When it's
SDNY
something.
is the DOJ.
What's that?
The SDNY is the DOJ.
I mean the U.S. Attorney General's office, because they're specific there. I mean, yes, you have a U.S. attorney in D.C., but I'm talking in terms of prosecutions and everything else. SDNY is far more important than D.C.
I think the most important one in the world right now is the Southern District of Florida, Brian.
I will agree with that. Okay, so let's get into and again,
and also just to that point, if the SDNY is as important as you say, right, and it does play that role, then its corruption is one of the biggest stories in the world and one of the areas that must be dealt with.
Agreed. The thing that has me most reluctant about Clayton at ODNY is how quickly the Senate was like, Bill Pulte, no experience, evil, keep him away, and then Jay Clayton, no formal intelligence experience, let's embrace him. That to me was wild, and that's hard to overlook. That's that's just the context clues surrounding Jay Clayton that I look into. I did some dives into some of his stuff and some good stuff. The FTX thing is something I'm very curious to see if we get any movement on that. So we'll see. All right, let's jump into this article here. This will wrap the show up from here. This was an article I have out this morning on the Gateway Pundit, part 2 of the declassified CIA notes, declassified election files. CIA notes, claims, and assessments align closely with observed issues in the U.S. 2020 election. And I'm just going to read through this again. If you guys are not on Why We Vote, you don't watch Why We Vote, you don't understand the election complexities and the significance of the FBI's raid in Fulton County, the way that somebody that watches Why We Vote would, you're going to get a quick rehash here of the significance of that. So in part 1, in my article, I reviewed a CIA note examining Venezuela's electronic election machine manipulation capabilities from 2004 through 2020. The CIA note does not establish that Venezuela successfully manipulated or even attempted to manipulate a foreign election or definitively prove that large-scale electronic fraud occurred in a specific Venezuelan election. The CIA note does suggest that predictable, difficult-to-detect manipulation would require more than a single vulnerability. It would depend on access to programming, machine security, electronic records, paper records, and the audit process. This is the CIA words, not mine. That's what you would need in order to manipulate an election with in a jurisdiction. The report that we're talking about here is the Election Oversight Group report. This was heavily used in the probable cause affidavit that the FBI used to get access to the Fulton County record. So the report, the Election Oversight Group report, alleges failures in many similar areas that are outlined in the CIA note, including untested software, removed memory cards, surrogate tabulators, missing hash authentication files known as SHA files, exposed encryption keys, and incomplete audit records. Those discrepancies would rely on domestic actions rather than foreign interference, because this was a wide part of what Ash and I talked about last night, is that the narrative that's being thrust upon us that it was foreign interference in our elections and not domestic. Ash and I have talked about elections more than maybe anybody in the social media sphere, and we very, very, very rarely talk about foreign interference.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that I was surprised at how many people were hoodwinked by the rewriting of the story of the Venezuelan influence and role in U.S. elections, because it's not an entirely bullshit story, right? There is a Venezuelan history of Venezuelan machines and our machines. There is, code chains, company exchanges, whatever, but it is the story that's being told that Venezuela, and not really Venezuela, because really it was China, and oh, by the way, it wasn't really China, it was Cuba. The China Zubans, I've taken to calling them, because that's the story we're being told, is that it's China Zubans that are manipulating our elections. That is very intentional to rewrite the history of the Americans involved in what was done to us. And in my opinion, we need to deal with the Americans first. The China Zubans will take care of themselves. And when we deal with the Americans, we can identify exactly where the China Zuban influence happened. But we have to deal with the Americans. And unfortunately, a lot of people, even people that like Brian and I, have been following this issue since 2020 or before. A lot of people got hoodwinked and fell for the idea that China Zubans were holding the decision rights over our elections. And those decision rights were always held by Americans. And the Americans that exercise those decision rights need to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Big time. So reading on here, during the 2020 election in Fulton County, and this is where it kind of gets into the rehash. So if you're not familiar with the in-depth evidence in Fulton County and Georgia, you will be after this. During the 2020 election in Fulton County, quote, untested and uncertified software changes were implemented, end quote, under emergency circumstances. This is the Amy Totenberg case, where they ruled that de minimis upgrades were necessary in order to allow the machines to go on. She said that there's a lot of concern in this, but we're going to allow this de minimis update to the software to go without testing. Okay. The machines never underwent the statutorily required logic and accuracy testing that's indicative of the access to programming that the CIA laid out in their note. The CIA told us that you would have to have this type of access, and here it is. Whether or not there's anything malicious that went on there, I don't know, but the CIA laid it out. The CIA, this accounted for 315,000 out of 528,000 ballots cast on untested machines during Fulton County's election. 315,000 ballots out of 528,000. Further, quote, under the control of a former Dominion employee who was a foreign national. Now, I don't believe he was a former Dominion employee at the time of the election. He is now. He was a technician who went on to get a job with Fulton County. Like, he got a huge pay raise working for the county itself. But under the control of a former Dominion employee who is a foreign national, the tabulator seals were broken on 35 tabulators, and memory cards were unlawfully removed and replaced during a live election. When early voting was completed, seals were once again broken, memory cards were removed, and then inserted into quote-unquote surrogate machines. All of this has been documented. That guy was a Nigerian, I believe. The CIA note describes a Venezuelan technique that was designed to, quote, replicate digital hash files to the central vote counting database. This is straight from the CIA's note that was released by President Trump. Replicate digital hash files to the central vote counting database, mimic real voting machines that favored the ruling party, overwrite hash files of voting machines that favored the opposition, and make altered votes appear to originate from legitimate voting machines. So those are the four steps that were outlined by the CIA. The CIA note continues that, quote, the reporting indicated that virtual machine technology would be employed to accomplish this manipulation while evading detection through standard audit procedures. The 5 things outlined by the CIA. Now, how did they apply to Fulton County? Well, Fulton County was only able to produce 16,000 hash files out of 148,000. So 148,000 files that should have been produced, hash files, they could not produce. They only produced 16,000 of them. There should have been 148,000 hash files for each of the 148,000 ballot images. They gave 16,000, less than 10%, or just over 10%. The SHA files are crucial to, quote, determine if a ballot image has been tampered with, altered, or replaced in the event of an audit or an investigation. Gone. So step 1 of the Venezuela plan, that's actually step 1 and step 3 of the Venezuela plan outlined by the CIA. The report also claims that 20,713 ballots or votes were attributed to 10 tabulators for which no opening status or closing tapes were available. Although this does not necessarily mean that virtual machine technology was used, it raises audibility issues. While trying to validate the existence of those 10 tabulators, emails and open record requests were sent to the custodian of records and the county's records department, but yielded responses such as no such records exist. When investigators tried to find out further, does that mean that there's no such records or that the machines do not exist? They said, or excuse me, when they said, when asked to clarify whether there were missing or do not exist, the response was the records do not exist. So again, it's not proving that there were virtual machines used, but if you have 10 tabulators that do not exist in physical custody in Fulton County, perhaps they were virtual machines. Again, that's the conclusive step of the Venezuela CIA note. The CIA note further says that successful manipulation would require control of not just the machines, but also the paper receipts, the post-election security, and the audit process itself. According to the election oversight report, Fulton County has no matching opening and or closing poll tapes for early voting tabulators and missing serial number continuities. Quote, this is from the report directly, quote, results for 148 tabulator memory cards were counted and included in the results, but only 9 of those open tapes and 138 fraudulent unsigned poll closing tapes were produced. There is not one tabulator with an open and closed tape pair that are bearing the same serial number. There's no audibility of the election there. Missing voter check-in and numbered voter records they're missing voter check-in and numbered voter records. Quote, Fulton County failed to create and maintain a manual record of in-person voters who cast a ballot at each polling location as required by Georgia law. This goes into Ash Mujica's, the famous AP News clip from 2017 where he says they added 1.7 million voters. Well, if you have no analog record of voters that were put in and put out, you can add as many as you want at any time. You know, and Raffensperger famously said on Good Morning America, I think it was, there's only 2% of the vote outstanding. They can't make up the deficit with Trump. He got cut off, and then he comes back in, and you get Savannah Guthrie getting a text message in the middle of the show saying, hey, talk about the chain of custody or the ballots that the Postal Service still hasn't delivered. And she comes in reading her phone. That's a whole, I got to do another show on that and that thing right there. And then lastly, the purported machine audit that examined just 18 out of 35,000 machines. I'm going to put the link to this in the chat. It will do you much better to read it than have me try and cram it into a 10-minute session here. But we did run out of time. And
everybody should read it, and everybody should watch Why We Vote last night, because we go into even greater detail about how the stories that people want to believe about election integrity. And I think this is true also for COVID, for foreign policy, for all Russiagate and the various wars. The people are going to seek out people that they can listen to that tell them what they want to hear. And that's biblical. 2 Timothy 4:3. For there will come a time when people will not listen to true teaching, but having itchy ears, they will accumulate teachers that tell them what they want to hear. Yeah. So we're living it, and it's important for people to remember that, and it's important to be intellectually honest with yourself and within your community and with the people that you are, that you do life with, because it's real easy to fall into groupthink and to believe absolute utter nonsense that makes no sense, like everything the government is telling us.
Yep. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into Rumble Rants. Before we do that, welcome Michelle Digital Coach is a new member over on YouTube. Welcome. And then we've got 450 joules from Doug McDouglas, and he says blowfish.
Agreed.
I think it's a GIF.
I agree.
It's a GIF, and we just don't see the GIF, so it's a GIF of a blowfish. but it just looks funnier to us reading blowfish.
I think it's a brilliant point that you just can't get.
EC was here. Thanks for the raid. And then the Dollar Rant says, I don't believe Moderna Mangle will receive justice in this life.
Moderna Mangala is what he's calling Fauci.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about that either. I think he will, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm optimistic. John in Connecticut, need more big hair drumming, Ash. We gave you some. We did give you more of that. Reberhart 29, just for you, Ash. Hydrate your elbows, moisturize your soul, and then it's,
oh my gosh, what does ChatGPT say about it?
I don't know. Let's
pull that in, and while you're doing that, I'll read the next the next Huckbuck. Another Huckbuck. During COVID-19 in Vegas, local Nevada breweries were not allowed to distribute to bars and restaurants, but Anheuser-Busch was allowed. My favorite brewery had to shut down. Well, that's absolute BS.
All right.
RC Jones says, great show. You two are a dynamic duo. Thank you so much. And did the fur babies enjoy their treats? Have a blessed day. Did you give the dog treats? Because you said last night you weren't going to because it was too late for them to eat treats.
I gave them this morning.
You did?
Yes, I did.
All right.
They got their salmon
What was
treats.
the ChatGPT thing?
Oh,
I love it. Send me that.
I will. And then let's go back to here. I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of hoping it was like big hair Ash, but
yeah, I do love big hair Ash. I started. It was after we got back from Gart. I tried to get my hair to do that, and it was like I'm gonna destroy my hair if I do that.
Yeah, I tried to. It didn't work for me either.
You go with the beard.
Is that it? There was one more from Huck Fillery. Another Huck Buck. Remember that viral video of the two guys yelling at each other across the lake? What's your name? Tony. F you, Tony. That's what I would do if to Fauci if I could. No, that's way too polite for Fauci. That's something I do for fun. Oh, by the way, Craig Alaska gifted a sub, which went to Camo Punk. So thank you for that.
Congratulations, Camo Punk, on your free subscription. And thank you to Craig Alaska.
No, and the F you Tony thing is that's way too polite. I do that for fun. Like I'll see somebody, I'll be like, hey, what's your name? Chris. Fuck you, Chris. What's your name? Brian. Fuck you, Brian. I love that. All right. We just made the show unshareable. So smash that.
You made the show unshareable in like the first 20 minutes.
Shush.
Hit the like button.
You made it unshareable when you showed up and dropped the F-bomb in the first 10 seconds of the show.
Not today, I didn't.
You dropped.
You did it first.
You said Fauci with
That's a fair point. If you're enjoying this dynamic, then tune in tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern for what we like to refer to as the Bad Mood Hour. It's Badlands Book Club, and Brian and I are reading The Creature from Jekyll Island, which definitely puts us in it puts everybody involved in a bad mood for an hour. But we're gonna get through it together. We were talking, you and I, in a private back channel about doing Starfish and the Spider next, which I think we should still put on the list and do. But Claire mentioned Animal Farm in the chat, and I think it might be a great time to read Animal Farm. Yeah, we should talk about it. You're thinking of Animal House, by the way, not Animal Farm.
I know. It's a joke.
Okay. Well, we should consider.
We're out of here. Christy's going to be doing her thing tonight, so I might go and do a video on demand and read that article. It'll be live, and then I'll repost it. So if you guys want to get more in depth, follow me, rumble.com/CannCon. I'll probably do that at some point, either today or tomorrow, because that is a lot to unpack in a 10-minute segment here. So stay tuned. You got Daily Herald coming up at 1, and I think they're still streaming the Fauci hearing, although that might be over.
I think it was over. I think we got rated from it.
All right. So in that case, we're out of here, guys. See you later.
Bye, guys.
Oh, DPH tonight, Shipwreck.
Oh, yeah. And Space Revolution.
And Space Revolution. All right. We'll see you guys later.
Bye, guys.